There comes a moment in every person's life when you have to stop pointing at what happened to you and start looking at what you are going to do about it. Life can be unfair. People can disappoint you. Opportunities can pass you by. You can come from a difficult background, lose everything, get rejected, fail at something you gave your whole heart to, and still have a future waiting on you. But the future cannot be built on excuses. You have to understand something. An excuse may explain where you are, but it will never take you where you want to go. You keep saying, I don't have enough money. Maybe you don't. You say, I don't have the right connections. Maybe you don't. You say, nobody believes in me. Maybe they don't. You say, I didn't have the opportunities other people had. Maybe that's true. But now what? That's the question that changes everything. Now what are you going to do? Because you can spend the next 10 years explaining why your life isn't where you want it to be. Or you can spend those same 10 years building something different. You can keep waiting for somebody to come rescue you. Or you can decide that you are going to rescue yourself. Stop making excuses for the life you have and start making decisions for the life you want. You don't need perfect circumstances to begin. You need courage. You need discipline. You need the willingness to get up when you don't feel like getting up. You need the willingness to keep going when nobody is clapping for you. You need to learn how to work when nobody is watching. That's where your life begins to change. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they keep negotiating with themselves. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it when I have more money. I'll start when I feel motivated. I'll try when things calm down. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month becomes next year. And suddenly you're sitting there wondering where all the time went. Listen, you don't need another year. You need another decision. Make the decision today that you are done talking yourself out of your own future. If you want to lose weight, stop telling yourself you're going to start someday and start making better choices today. If you want to build a business, stop waiting until you know everything and start learning what you need to know. If you want a better career, stop complaining about the job you hate and start developing the skills that can move you somewhere else. If you want peace, stop giving every person access to your emotions. If you want confidence, stop waiting to feel confident and start doing things that make you proud of yourself. You don't become ready first. You become ready by moving. You become stronger by carrying something heavy. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself. You become disciplined by doing what needs to be done, even when your feelings are telling you to quit. And let me tell you something about excuses. They sound reasonable when you're making them. That's why they're dangerous. An excuse doesn't always sound like laziness. Sometimes it sounds intelligent. Sometimes it sounds responsible. Sometimes it sounds like, I'm just being realistic. But there is a difference between being realistic and being afraid. Being realistic says, this is difficult, so I need a better plan. An excuse says, this is difficult, so I shouldn't try. Being realistic says, I don't have the resources yet, so I need to start with what I have. An excuse says, I don't have enough, so there's no point starting. You have to stop confusing preparation with procrastination. You have been waiting for the perfect moment, but the perfect moment is not coming. Start with what you have. Start where you are. Start while you're scared. Start while people doubt you. Start while your bank account doesn't look the way you want it to. Start while you are still learning. Start before you feel completely ready. Because sometimes the thing you are waiting for is not an opportunity. Sometimes the thing you are waiting for is permission. And nobody is coming to give it to you. You have to give yourself permission to become the person you keep saying you want to be. There is a version of you that is stronger than your excuses. There is a version of you that gets up early, keeps going, learns from failure, takes responsibility, saves money, works on the dream, walks away from distractions, and refuses to surrender just because the road got difficult. That person is already inside you, but you have to stop feeding the excuses and start feeding the discipline. You cannot change your life while protecting the habits that are destroying it. You cannot ask for a different future while repeating the same behaviors. You cannot keep saying you want more and keep doing less. At some point, you have to take ownership. Not because everything that happened to you was your fault. It wasn't. But what you do next is your responsibility. That's the difference between blame and responsibility. Blame keeps you looking backward. Responsibility turns you around and points you forward. Maybe somebody hurt you. Maybe somebody lied to you. Maybe somebody walked away. Maybe somebody told you that you weren't good enough. Maybe you failed. Maybe you wasted years. Maybe you made terrible decisions. Fine, learn from it, but don't build a house there. You cannot change yesterday, but you can decide what tomorrow looks like. And the moment you stop making excuses, you take your power back. You stop saying, they won't let me. You start asking, what can I do? You stop saying, I'm not lucky. You start asking, what can I learn? You stop saying, nobody supports me. You start asking, how can I become strong enough to keep going without applause? That's maturity. That's growth. That's how lives change. Your life may not transform overnight. Don't expect that. You may still struggle. You may still have bad days. You may still experience rejection and disappointment. But something inside you changes when you stop using those things as reasons to quit. You start becoming dangerous to your old limitations. You become harder to discourage. You become harder to distract. You become harder to stop. Because now you understand that obstacles are not always signs that you should turn around. Sometimes they are tests of whether you really want what you said you wanted. So when life gets hard, don't immediately say, maybe this isn't for me. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? When the door closes, don't sit outside the door complaining all day. Look for another door. Build another door. Knock somewhere else. Calculate your own opportunity. But keep moving because your dream doesn't care about your excuses. Your goals don't care how tired you are. Your future doesn't care how many times you failed. Your future only responds to what you choose to do from this moment forward. And that's the beautiful part. You still have a choice. You can choose discipline over comfort. You can choose action over excuses. You can choose growth over complaining. You can choose responsibility over blame. You can choose to become the person your future requires. So stop waiting for somebody to save you. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting until you're fearless. Stop waiting until everybody believes in you. Believe in yourself enough to take the first step, then take another, then another. And when you fall, get back up. When you fail, learn. When you get rejected, adjust. When people doubt you, keep working. When you feel tired, rest if you need to, but don't surrender. Because one day you are going to look back at the person you used to be, and you are going to realize that your life didn't change when circumstances became perfect. Your life changed when you stopped making excuses and decided that no matter how hard it was, you were going to take responsibility for what happened next. There comes a point in your life when you have to stop looking around for somebody to blame and start asking yourself what you are going to do next. Life is not always going to give you what you deserve. Sometimes you will work hard and still lose. Sometimes you will do everything right and still get rejected. Sometimes people will disappoint you. Opportunities will disappear, and circumstances will put you in situations you never asked for. But you cannot control everything that happens to you. What you can't control is how you respond to it. You have to understand the difference between an explanation and an excuse. An explanation tells you what happened. An excuse tells you why you shouldn't do anything about it. You can acknowledge that your childhood was difficult. You can admit that somebody hurt you. You can recognize that you didn't have the same opportunities as someone else. But at some point, you have to stop using those things as reasons to remain stuck. You didn't choose everything that happened to you, but you do have a choice about what happens next. That's where responsibility begins. Taking responsibility doesn't mean pretending everything was your fault. It doesn't mean ignoring the people who treated you badly or pretending the obstacles weren't real. It means refusing to give those circumstances permanent control over your future. You can say, yes, that happened to me, without saying, and therefore I can never become anything. Somebody may have closed the door on you. Fine. Don't spend your whole life standing outside that door waiting for them to change their mind. Find another door. If there isn't another door, build one. If you don't know how to build one, learn. If you fail while learning, learn from that failure too. That's what responsibility looks like. You stop asking, why does this always happen to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? That one question can change the direction of your entire life. Because when you blame everything around you, you also give everything around you power. If your success depends on your boss changing, your family supporting you, your friends believing in you, the economy improving, the right person discovering you, or luck finally showing up, then you have placed your future in everybody else's hands. You can't live like that. You have to take your future back. Maybe you don't have the money yet. What can you learn? Maybe you don't have the connections yet. Who can you meet? Maybe you don't have the experience yet. What can you practice? Maybe nobody believes in you. What can you accomplish quietly? Maybe you made mistakes. What can those mistakes teach you? There is always another question you can ask that moves you forward. You cannot always choose the situation, but you can choose your next move. And your next move matters more than your last mistake. People spend too much time explaining why they can't change. They talk about what they don't have, who didn't help them, what went wrong, and how unfair everything has been. But talking about the problem doesn't solve the problem. At some point, you have to get tired of hearing yourself complain. Not because your pain isn't real, because your future is real too. You have places to go, things to accomplish, people you haven't met yet, opportunities you haven't seen yet, a version of yourself you haven't become yet. Don't let yesterday become an excuse for wasting tomorrow. Take responsibility for your habits. Take responsibility for your choices. Take responsibility for the people you allow into your life. Take responsibility for how you spend your time. Take responsibility for whether you keep your word to yourself. Because every time you make a choice, you are voting for the person you are becoming. If you keep choosing comfort, you become comfortable with staying stuck. If you keep choosing excuses, excuses become your lifestyle. But if you start choosing discipline, action, patience, and courage, you begin building a different version of yourself. You don't need to control the entire world. You just need to control what is yours to control. Your effort, your attitude, your preparation, your response, your next decision. And when you focus on those things, you stop waiting for life to become easier and start becoming stronger for the life you are living. There's a difference between wanting something and doing something about it. Everybody has dreams. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has something they say they want to accomplish someday. But wanting is easy. Talking is easy. Planning is easy. The difficult part is getting up and taking action when you are tired, afraid, uncertain, or nobody is watching you. You can have the greatest dream in the world, but a dream without action is just a thought you keep repeating to yourself. You can talk about starting the business, changing your life, getting in shape, learning a new skill, improving your finances, or becoming a better person, but none of those things change because you talked about them. Action is what separates the person who wishes from the person who builds. You don't have to know everything before you begin. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everybody's approval. You don't need to feel confident every morning. You just need to take the next step. That's where most people get stuck. They think the first step has to be huge. It doesn't. Sometimes the first step is making one phone call. Sometimes it is sending one email. Sometimes it is reading 10 pages. Sometimes it is waking up 30 minutes earlier. Sometimes it is putting your phone down and working on something that actually matters. Small actions may not look impressive in the beginning, but small actions repeated consistently can change the direction of your life. You have to stop underestimating what you can accomplish when you stop waiting and start moving. Excuses will always be available. You will always have a reason not to start. You are tired. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough time. You don't know enough. You are afraid of failing. You tried before. Someone else is already doing it. The timing isn't right. Listen, excuses don't have to disappear before you take action. You just have to stop obeying them. Fear can come with you. Doubt can come with you. Uncertainty can come with you. You can be nervous and still move. You can be scared and still move. You can have questions and still move. You can fail and still move. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become unwilling to let fear make every decision for you. There are people waiting for motivation before they take action. They wake up and say, I don't feel like doing it today. Then they don't do it. The next day, they still don't feel like it. Eventually, they start believing they have no discipline. You cannot build your life based on how you feel. Feelings change. Your commitment has to be stronger than your mood. There will be days when you don't feel motivated. There will be mornings when getting started feels difficult. There will be moments when you question whether the work is worth it. Those are the moments when action becomes even more important, because every time you take action despite how you feel, you teach yourself something powerful. You teach yourself that your feelings don't control your future. You teach yourself that you can keep a promise to yourself. You teach yourself that you are capable of doing difficult things. And confidence starts growing from there. Confidence doesn't always come before action. A lot of the time, confidence comes because of action. You do something difficult. You survive it. You learn from it. You do it again. Then you realize, maybe I can handle more than I thought. That's how you grow. Stop waiting for evidence that you can succeed before you begin. Sometimes you have to begin before you have evidence. Take the first step, then take another. Don't worry about having the whole road figured out. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You need to know where your next foot is going. If you make a mistake, adjust. If you fail, learn. If the plan doesn't work, create another plan. If somebody says no, keep looking. If the first attempt doesn't produce results, don't automatically call yourself a failure. A failed attempt is information. It tells you what didn't work. Now you know something you didn't know before. Use it. Keep moving, because action creates experience. Experience creates knowledge. Knowledge creates confidence. And confidence makes bigger action possible. Your life can change because of one decision you make today. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy. Not because somebody hands you an opportunity. Not because all your problems disappear. It changes because you finally decide that you are going to stop talking about what you want and start doing something about it. You don't need another excuse. You need a move. One move today, then another tomorrow, then another after that. And eventually, the actions you once had to force yourself to take become the habits that carry you forward. A lot of people spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment to begin. They tell themselves they will start when they have more money, more confidence, more time, more experience, or more support. They keep believing that one day everything will line up perfectly and they will finally feel ready to move forward. But life doesn't work that way. There is rarely a perfect time to do something that truly matters. There will always be something missing, something uncertain, something uncomfortable, or something that could go wrong. You have to stop waiting for everything to be perfect, because perfection is one of the biggest excuses you can make. It sounds responsible. It sounds like you're preparing. It sounds like you're being careful. But sometimes you're not preparing at all. Sometimes you're simply afraid to begin. You say, I'll start when I'm ready. But what if ready never comes? What if readiness is something you develop after you start? Think about it. You didn't become good at everything by waiting until you were good. You became good by doing it badly at first, making mistakes, learning, practicing, and trying again. Nobody begins as an expert. Nobody starts with complete confidence. Nobody knows exactly what every step will look like. You have to be willing to begin as a beginner. If you want to start a business, you may not have everything figured out. Start learning. If you want to change your career, you may not have all the qualifications yet. Start building the skills. If you want to improve your health, you may not be in the shape you want to be. Start with one better decision. If you want to write, create, speak, or build something, stop waiting for the perfect conditions and put something into the world. Your first attempt doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist. That's something people forget. They spend so much time planning the perfect beginning that they never actually begin. They want the perfect logo before starting the business. They want the perfect equipment before creating the content. They want the perfect body before going to the gym. They want perfect confidence before speaking up. They want everyone to approve before taking a risk. But you don't need permission to start becoming who you want to be. You need courage. And courage doesn't mean you aren't afraid. Courage means you decide that your fear doesn't get the final word. There will never be a day when every problem disappears. There will always be bills. There will always be responsibilities. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be unexpected circumstances. If you wait until life becomes completely convenient, you may wait forever. Start anyway. Start tired. Start nervous. Start with limited resources. Start without applause. Start while you're still learning. Start before you know exactly how everything will work. Because movement creates clarity. When you move, you learn things that you could never learn by simply thinking. You discover what works. You discover what doesn't. You meet people. You develop skills. You find opportunities. You noticed possibilities that were invisible while you were standing still. Sometimes you are asking life for a sign when life is waiting for you to take a step. Don't confuse hesitation with wisdom. Yes, think carefully. Yes, prepare. Yes, make a plan. But understand when planning has become hiding. There comes a moment when you have gathered enough information and the only thing left is action. You cannot think your way into every opportunity. Some opportunities only appear after you move. You make the call and suddenly you meet someone. You submit the application and suddenly a door opens. You start learning and suddenly you discover a skill you never knew you had. You take the risk and suddenly you realize you were more capable than you thought. The perfect time is usually not a date on the calendar. It is a decision. The moment you decide that you are tired of waiting, that is the moment you can begin changing your life. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Don't wait until everyone believes in you. Don't wait until you have enough money. Don't wait until you have zero fear. Don't wait until the circumstances are perfect. Use what you have. Do what you can. Start where you are. Then improve as you go. Your future doesn't require you to have everything figured out today. It requires you to be willing to take today's step. Maybe your step is small. Take it. Maybe nobody notices. Take it anyway. Maybe you're afraid. Take it anyway. Maybe you don't know where the road leads. Take the next step anyway. Because years from now, you may realize that the biggest difference between the life you lived and the life you wanted was not a lack of opportunity. It was the amount of time you spent waiting for the perfect moment to begin. There are going to be days when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done. You will wake up tired, frustrated, distracted, discouraged, or simply uninterested. You will look at the work in front of you and tell yourself that you can do it tomorrow. You will convince yourself that one missed day doesn't matter. But one missed day becomes two. Two becomes a week. And before you know it, the thing you promised yourself you would accomplish is still sitting in the same place. That's why you cannot build your life around your feelings. Feelings are real, but feelings are not always reliable. They change with your mood, your circumstances, your sleep, your stress, and the people around you. If you only work when you feel motivated, you are giving your future to something that changes every few hours. You need discipline. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It means keeping promises to yourself when nobody else is there to hold you accountable. It means understanding that your goals are bigger than your temporary emotions. You don't always need motivation. Sometimes you just need to get up. Get up and make the call. Get up and do the work. Get up and study. Get up and exercise. Get up and handle your responsibilities. Get up and take one more step. The person you want to become is built during the moments when you don't feel like becoming that person. Anybody can work when everything is going well. Anybody can be disciplined when they are excited about the future. The real test comes when the excitement disappears. That's when you find out whether you truly want the goal or whether you only like the idea of having it. You have to stop negotiating with yourself. Every morning you cannot have a meeting with your feelings about whether you're going to do what you said you would do. If you made a commitment, honor it. If you set a goal, work toward it. If you said you were going to change, then give that change a chance. Discipline doesn't mean you never rest. Discipline means you know the difference between rest and quitting. Sometimes you need to step back and recover. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. But don't turn one difficult day into a permanent excuse. You have to learn how to tell yourself the truth. I'm tired may be true, but I can still do something can also be true. I'm afraid may be true, but I can still move forward can also be true. I don't feel motivated may be true, but I don't need motivation to take the next step can also be true. That mindset will change you because every time you do something you didn't feel like doing, you strengthen yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-respect grows. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you become more dependable to yourself. And when you become dependable to yourself, your confidence changes. You stop saying, I hope I can do this. You start saying, I know I will keep going. That's powerful. You don't need to become a completely different person overnight. Start by keeping small promises. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task you started. Put the phone down when it's time to work. Save the money you said you would save. Exercise when you plan to exercise. Read when you plan to read. Small disciplines create strong character. You might not see the results immediately. That's where many people quit. They work for a few days and expect a transformation. When the results don't come quickly, they assume the effort isn't working. But discipline is not about instant results. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps going long enough to see the results. You plant the seed before you see the tree. You train before you become strong. You practice before you become skilled. You save before you become financially secure. You work before the opportunity appears. The results come later. Your job is to keep showing up. And there will be days when nobody congratulates you. Nobody will know you stayed up late working. Nobody will know you turned down distractions. Nobody will know you chose your goal over comfort. Do it anyway. Your life is being built in those invisible moments. You have to become stronger than the excuses your mind gives you. When your feelings say, not today, discipline says, just start. When your mind says, this is too hard, discipline says, take one step. When your emotions say, give up, discipline says, keep going a little longer. You don't have to conquer your entire life today. You just have to win today's decision. Tomorrow will bring another decision, then another and another. That's how discipline becomes a lifestyle. Instead of something you occasionally practice, the life you want will require things from you that your comfortable life never required. It will require patience. It will require consistency. It will require sacrifice. It will require you to keep moving when your feelings are begging you to stay where you are. So stop asking yourself whether you feel like doing it. Ask yourself whether it needs to be done. And if it needs to be done, get up and do the next thing. Your future is not created someday. It is being created right now through the decisions you make every single day. Every choice you make is taking you somewhere, even when you don't realize it. The way you spend your mornings, the people you listen to, the habits you repeat, the things you avoid, and the actions you take when nobody is watching are all shaping the person you will become. You cannot keep making the same decisions and expect your life to suddenly look different. If you want a different future, you have to become willing to make different choices. That doesn't mean you have to change everything overnight. It means you have to change something. Maybe you need to stop spending your time on things that don't move your life forward. Maybe you need to stop giving your energy to people who constantly bring you down. Maybe you need to stop saying yes to everything when you know you need to say no. Maybe you need to stop wasting opportunities because you're afraid of failing. Your future is connected to your decisions. One decision can change the direction of your life. You decide to apply for the job. You decide to start the business. You decide to leave the toxic environment. You decide to learn the skill. You decide to save the money. You decide to take your health seriously. You decide to believe that your life can become better. And then you act on that decision. People often think transformation begins with a huge moment. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, your life changes through small decisions repeated over and over again. You choose to wake up instead of hitting snooze. You choose to work instead of making another excuse. You choose to read instead of scrolling. You choose to save instead of spending. You choose to learn instead of complaining. You choose to keep going instead of quitting. Those choices may look small today, but they become powerful when repeated. Your habits are simply decisions you have made so many times that they became automatic. If you keep choosing comfort, comfort becomes your lifestyle. If you keep choosing excuses, excuses become your identity. If you keep choosing discipline, discipline becomes part of who you are. If you keep choosing growth, growth becomes your way of life. That's why you have to pay attention to the decisions that seem insignificant. The little things are not always little when you repeat them every day. You also have to stop giving your past too much authority over your future. Maybe you made bad decisions before. Maybe you wasted time. Maybe you trusted the wrong people. Maybe you made choices that you regret. Learn from them, but don't worship them. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. You can make a different decision today. That's the power you still have. You may not be able to change what happened yesterday, but you can change what you do today. And what you do today can influence what becomes possible tomorrow. Don't underestimate the power of one decision. One decision can take you into a new room. One conversation can introduce you to a new opportunity. One commitment can create a new habit. One courageous step can introduce you to a version of yourself you didn't know existed. But you have to make the decision. Nobody can do that for you. People can encourage you. People can advise you. People can support you. But at some point, you have to decide that you are finished living beneath your potential. You have to decide that enough is enough. Enough excuses. Enough waiting. Enough blaming. Enough allowing fear to make every decision. Enough saying you want change while protecting the habits that keep you exactly where you are. Your future needs a different version of you. And that version is created by what you choose today. You don't have to know exactly where everything will lead. You don't need a 10-year plan. You just need enough courage to make the next right decision. Make the call, take the class, start the project, have the conversation, walk away from the distraction, get back to work. Keep the promise. Do the thing you have been saying you would do. Every decision is a vote for your future, so vote carefully. Don't let temporary comfort make permanent decisions for you. Don't let fear decide what opportunities you will never pursue. Don't let other people's opinions determine how far you are willing to go. Your life can change when your decisions change. Not because every problem disappears, not because the road becomes easy, but because you become different on the road. You become more disciplined, more focused, more courageous, more responsible, more willing to act. And when you become different, you begin making different choices. Different choices create different habits. Different habits create different results. Different results create a different life. So the question is not whether your future can change. The question is whether you are willing to make the decisions that your future requires. Because the life you keep dreaming about is waiting on the choices you keep avoiding.